welcome to the second part of the Strawberries and Cream blanket. We are going to be looking today at section 2, which is this part here, and it's a herringbone gingham stitch. And it's followed by another intersection part that we learnt in section 1. So if you haven't seen that video already, pop back and have a little look, and then you'll be ready for section 2. If you haven't met me before, I'm Hannah from Hand Jam Crochet, and I'm delighted to meet you and work on this blanket with you. We are running a crochet along in July 2022, but if it's not that time anymore, then please don't worry. I'll put links in the description for where you can find the free version of the pattern, where you can purchase a PDF to download, and where you can also purchase the entire thing as a course. So have a little look down below, see which option suits you best, and let's get going. So then section 2 of the blanket is this herringbone gingham stitch that you can see here. And we already know the half treble or half double crochet stitch, but what we're going to do this time around is adapt it slightly so it becomes a herringbone stitch. And it's a very slight change and you'll be absolutely fine doing it. But as you see what it does, it makes the stitches slant diagonally, and so it gives it a really cool texture and a really quite striking look, I think. And the other thing that we're going to do with this section in terms of colour work is we're going to use 2 colours per row that we work, because as you can see the beginning of your row starts in the lighter colour, and then we get this pink, and then we go back to the first colour again, and then back to pink, and so we can switch along the row, whereas in our first section we changed at the end of each row. So these are the new things that we're going to learn for this section, and it's a lot more straightforward than it looks. I know this looks terribly complicated, but we're going to carry the yarn that we're not using through the middle of the stitches. You can probably see little flecks of it here and there. So it's not as tricky as it looks, and it's a really lovely stitch to use for an entire blanket, actually, I would say. And let's have a little look at how it works. So for this section, we are going to need colours F and J from your colour stash. So if you go and grab those, then we'll be ready to start. So section 2 begins with colour J. So we're going to join that at the last point of the last stitch of the intersection pattern there. And then we're going to turn our work and we'll be ready for section 2. And we begin by chaining 1, and that doesn't count as a stitch here and throughout the pattern. And now what we're going to do is we're going to herringbone half treble. So that's a herringbone half treble in the UK term is a herringbone half double crochet in US terms. And we're going to do that in 6 stitches in this colour. So the way we work a herringbone stitch is that we do very similar as a normal half treble. We're going to yarn over, we're going to pop it through the stitch that we want, and we're going to pull through a loop. But whereas normally we would go, okay, we've got 3 on the hook there, and we yarn over and pull through, we're not going to do that. We're going to pull this loop straight through that second one there. And so you're only going to have 2 loops on your hook before you yarn over and you pull through both. And so you see it already, you can see that's a kind of a more diagonal stitch. It's slanting to the side. And now we need to do one in the second one. Now just watch out here, because that's going to be a chain that you're going to work into as opposed to a stitch. So we're going to yarn over, we're going to pop it through the chain, and you're going to yarn over and pull it through. And whereas normally you would yarn over at this point, you're not going to. You're going to pull that first loop all the way through. And then you're going to yarn over and pull through 2. And we go again for the third stitch, yarn over, pop through the stitch, yarn over and pull it through, and at the same time pull it through that first loop there, yarn over and pull through 2. So that's 3. And then we do a 4th, pull through that first one, yarn over and pull through. And then 5 is going into a chain again, so just be careful with that one. And then our 6th one goes in here. But remember I said we're going to change colour in this row. So rather than yarn over and finish with this colour, what we're going to do is change as we would at the end of the row to our new colour, and we're going to yarn over and we're going to pull through to complete the stitch. So that stitch you've just done will be completely in your pink colour that you want it to be, but you're set up and ready with your new colour to carry on. And now the stitches for the rest of the row are exactly the same. In fact, the whole of this gingham section is herringbone half treble stitches. But what we now need to do is think carefully about our ends and our tails. We're going to yarn over, and for this next stitch you want to make sure that you catch everything underneath. So what this is called, we're carrying our yarn. So you're going to yarn over and pop through the stitch, and you're going to make sure that you keep those two tails within your work. So you're going to catch them and trap them within that stitch. And then the herringbone part comes because we scoop through that loop first, and then we yarn over and pull through. And then you repeat that for 6 stitches. So you're going to yarn over and pop through, making sure that you've got those tails in the middle there. Then you're going to yarn over, and then you're going to pull through that first loop there for the herringbone, yarn over and pull through 2. So that's 2 stitches in the new colour. And you just repeat that until you get to your 6th stitch of this colour. And then we'll be ready to change back to the first colour. So here's number 6, and you've probably guessed this already. Rather than yarn over in this colour, we're going to yarn over in the next colour, and that means we can change colours easily throughout the row. And then this becomes the yarn that you hide and carry underneath, and this is your working yarn here. So now we carry on, and we're going to do 6 stitches in this colour. And before long, that very last tail will be hidden and gone. And now we're at number 6, and we're going to change to our second colour, and then we do our 6 in this colour. And we switch again. Here we are at the last 6. We switch to our last colour, and I keep carrying this second colour, keep carrying that throughout till the end. So you don't necessarily need it when you get to the end of the row, but I think it gives the blanket a better fabric, because then you don't miss at the end here. It's the same thickness as the rest of it. And now what you'll see at the end here is the pattern says that you'll continue in yarn F, which is the colour we have. So you're going to yarn over and complete the stitch in that colour. And then you're ready to turn your work. And at this point, if you have got an entangle like mine have there a little bit, it's very normal. Untangle yourself and reset, and you'll be ready to go again. And now you know exactly everything you need for the rest of this part of this section now. But what the key is here is colour changes. So just keep track of where you are. In the pattern, it tells us now to carry on with yarn F, and the first 6 stitches are going to be in yarn F. And the important thing is to grab that second colour and keep it within your stitches. So encase it within your stitches. Let's do that better. Yarn over and pop through your first stitch, grab your second colour, and then complete your stitch. So that's our first stitch done. And now it's easy to see where you're going because you've already got your sets of 6 stitches to work to. and we see we're ready to switch colours. So we yarn over on the last stitch there, and I do give it a little tug at the end just to make sure that there's no lumps or bumps that don't need to be there. And now we carry on in this sequence to the end of this row. And as we come to the end of this row, you'll see in the pattern it tells you to just repeat the last 2 rows that you've done. So we're going to finish off in that very same colour, because what we want is four rows of each colour before we'll then change. So we turn and we repeat the first row that we did, the colour sequence. The stitches are exactly the same, and you just need to remember to catch that second colour there in the stitch that you work. And I find this quite a therapeutic and quite rhythmical stitch to do, because you don't, once you get the herringbone stitch, you don't really need to think about it. But the colour changes add just a little bit of excitement, for want of a better word. It just kind of keeps you on your toes, but it's not too tricky that you can't do it while you watch the TV or something. So if you want to go ahead and work this row and then the next row, which will be a repeat of this second row that we did of this section, and then I'll meet you back and I will show you the change of the colour sequence for the rest of this section. And so here I am at the last stitch of row 27. So we've worked 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of this section. And all we're going to do now is, it tells you in the pattern to flip the colours. So you work exactly the same stitch, but we're going to finish that one with our second colour there. We're going to turn our work over to work the next row. And all that we're now going to do is basically work 4 rows of the opposite version. So we're going to have this colour now sitting on top of the pink. So you work it in exactly the same way. We make sure to catch your other yarn in each stitch so it's ready when you need it. And you do 6 stitches of each colour, exactly as you have done with the other part of this section, but we're just swapping the colours over. And then here we are, ready to switch. And so we grab our pink yarn and we yarn over and pull it through to change. Make sure you carry your other yarn through the stitches and then work your 6 in your next colour. And then if I grab my other sample, I can show you that here we are. So we are currently working on this row here, this one, and then we've got another 1, 2, 3 of that section. And then all we do is repeat this whole 8 rows once more, and that's the end of section 2. So it really is just about knowing where to switch your colours for this section. Keep those herringbone stitches nice and neat, and make sure that your yarn doesn't pop through too much when you're carrying it. Keep the tension nice and tense, for want of a better word. And then you'll see we come back to our intersection pattern, which you already know how to do. So finish up section 2 and then work your intersection pattern, and then we'll be ready to work section 3, which again I know looks terribly complicated, but for this one we are only using 1 colour per row. So finish up section 2, do your intersection pattern, and then we'll crack on with section 3.